Kathrina, you're in a similar position. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. What's your story?
Greg, I joined the scheme back in September 2020, and my chartered engineer came out and took my samples in October 2020. They were all submitted, and I got verbal approval from Donegal County Council in August 21 for the option 1 demolition. And then radio silence. Then in February 23, they asked me for my plans for the neighbouring property. Now, my neighbouring property is a council home. So this is unheard of with anybody else in a semi-detached where they were asked about the neighbour's plans, the plans for the neighbour's property. So at that point as well, we'd heard about the pyrrhotite. So I had sent off for additional test results to see if I had that, because we were only tested for mica back in 2020. So I uploaded those new results in July 23 when I received them back. And those results showing the high levels of pyrrhotite on my property are now saved on the DCC portal as do not use under enhanced scheme in block capital letters. Mm. So not only have they not sent out the housing agency to look at my property for the huge levels of deterioration since 2020, they are purposely not using the updated information.
So they're actively saying the only information we are to consider is the older 2020 information.
Exactly.
I wonder what the policy is there. Why would that be the case? Surely you want the best science available before you make such a big decision.
Well, Greg, I wondered the same thing, so I put in a Freedom of Information request to the council after I was downgraded on the 1st of May. Mm-hmm. And the council responded on the last day of the 4-week period that they had to respond, and they said they had no paper files, that they have a paperless system, and the only information pertaining to my case is on the DCC portal. Mm-hmm. So that's when I went into the DCC portal and saw the do not use under enhanced scheme. So they're not giving me any of the information whereby they gave me the verbal approval, and I don't understand why not.
Yeah, and what does where does that leave you in this process in terms of also getting your house to getting your house properly returned to you? What?
Well, the option they've given me is a blend of options 2 to 4. Mm. What that is, they're going to remove the outer leaf. They're going to remove the outer rising wall. So that's the wall between, say, the footpath and the foundations. And they're going to remove the rising wall on the inside of the house. So they're going to keep the inside of the external wall, but they're going to keep the rising wall underneath the ground out. My engineer's report shows the moisture ingress throughout the inside of my home. I have cracking throughout the inside of my home. The technician who visited back in July 23 to see if I met the damage threshold, I invited him into the property to record all the internal cracks showing the damage inside. And he said, no, that wasn't in his remit, that a different engineer from the housing agency, or an engineer, sorry, he was a technician, and then an engineer from the housing agency would visit at a later point to record the internal cracks. And then I was downgraded on the 1st of May without anyone having visited or contacted me in any way.
Yeah. And just reading Paul O'Brien's information to Darragh O'Brien at that time, Paul Gallagher, sorry, the then Attorney General, he was of the view that local authorities wouldn't effectively have the balls to resist pressure from people in terms of going for full demolition. He also questioned whether or not engineers, he said, in respect of which claims are made, must be assessed by independent engineers acting on behalf of the state and appointed by it, i.e. the people that are making these decisions now. He said, I believe that reliance on engineering reports from applicants will only greatly increase the cost of assessment, but will lead to significant abuses for the reasons already discussed, i.e. those engineers would come under pressure from homeowners to go for option 1. So all of this is aligning seemingly with the Attorney General of the Times advice. You don't want the council making the decisions because they'll be under pressure. and you need state-owned engineers going through the appeals process, seemingly because homeowners would be putting too much pressure on the chartered engineers to go for option one. It's really been interesting to hear from you, Kathrina, and to hear from Marty, because it really kind of seems to put that Attorney General advice into context.
Yeah. You see, the bit about that I don't understand, Greg, is that I don't know my chartered engineer. I had to take a random name off a list that the council provided me with, and I had to ring those numbers. And the reason I chose my engineer was because he was the only person who answered the phone at the time.
Right.
I have no relationship with him.
But you
I
see,
never knew the
Kathrina,
man.
I think really what also is in those words is that engineers, because of them knowing the score, right? Because why would you rebuild on rising walls that have, these compounds in them? Why would you build on foundations that may fail also? What engineer would actually sign off in good conscience for a remedial option? Do you know, that sort of way? That's not actually said expressly there. But if I were an engineer and I come out to your house, Kathrina, and I know your foundations might go, and I know your rising walls are dodgy, and I could say the same to Marty, I'm going to professionally go, well, in all consciousness, I can't do, outer and inner walls. We have to do full demolition here. And I think the Attorney General was referencing that to some extent in saying that that's what they will do, and they'll be under pressure in some cases to do it. So we have to make sure that we've got our team in that can move to perhaps the least costly option. Kathrina, is that how you're reading it? Or I mean, I'm only sort of trying to put one and two or one and one together here, but that's what it feels like with knowledge of this with this advice from the Attorney General now, Kathrina, Marty.
Yeah, that's exactly how we feel. We feel that we are not being listened to at all, and that these emails that were leaked, they're basically references us. They're saying do not give them demolition, give them a lower option, do downgrade them, try and save money there, but it's only saving money now. It's not saving money in the long run. And another thing, Greg, is that the group of downgraded homeowners that we have, everybody's focusing on their appeals, but nobody is thinking past the appeals. So if we are being set up to fail and we fail, no one is going to build their house. We trusted the engineers we engaged, the engineers and the chartered engineers that gave us their advice and their opinions, who came out to do the core analysis, who visited our homes once, twice, 3 times. We're trusting their opinions, and we have to just go by somebody we don't know, in my case, engineers in Sligo, who have never set foot in my door, have never looked at my property. We can't do that. So the downgraded homeowners, we're not going to go, okay, yeah, I'll take option 4, I'll take option 3, and I'll start my build now within the time limit set upon me. It's not going to happen. So essentially we're just sitting there. If we fail, we're going nowhere. What can we do?
I think also
it's a huge scandal.
This information for Kathrina too, updated testing, and in block capitals, do not use this under enhanced scheme. So the newer information, which may show a deterioration, or in fact maybe could have been used to confirm a downgrade. I'm not saying that's the case, but it was do not use it, which I think is very bizarre, because you want surely, Kathrina, you want the latest available information to make a responsible decision for taxpayers' money.
Of course I do. And what will happen now, Greg, which I think is the most shocking bit, if I take the 100,000 they've offered me to do my outer leaf, I can only apply once again to remove brickwork that hasn't been removed before, and can only get up to 90% of that 100,000. So when in 2-3 years' time, all the cracking comes back, and of course on the inside, keep in mind I'm keeping my inside walls, my internal walls, so they are all, the cracking that's there is only going to get worse. And so they're saying they'll give me up to 90% of that. So they might give me 190,000 in total. My house is still going to fall down. But if they get me the 200 or just over that now to rebuild my house, that would be it fixed and the problem solved. But Greg, further to that, the inside of my property, it has a white furry mould all over it, everywhere. The smell, it's just disgusting. And I have 2 small children in the house here, a toddler as well, And Greg, this is going a wee bit off the point, but I was diagnosed with new daily persistent headache by the neurologist in Letterkenny, which is a 24/7 headache I've had for the last nearly 3 years now. It's all the time, constant. And that is directly linked to the mold in my house. It's a long-term exposure to mold causes this chronic headache. And things like that are not being considered. Do you know, the health impact? And I wonder now, my toddler,
I'd be very worried.
to everybody?
I mean, you're a big, strong adult, Kathrina, you know, and it's affecting you like that there. How might it affect a developing respiratory system? I would share your concerns there. I'm not going to lie.